In the latter days, the truth shall be shouted from the mountain top. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. You shall be sojourners upon the earth, traveling the land, spreading truth, justice, and love to all mankind, guided by the cloud of spirit by day and the torch of freedom by night. A whole generation of warrior monks dedicated to Mother Earth and the dignity of human endurance. Thus, we shall be the masters of everything and the rulers of none. This message goes out to all the 3%ers out there. We keep hearing in all these patriot radio shows that there's going to be a civil war. Now, is that true? And if so, who the heck are we fighting? The government? I don't think so. If they declare martial law, there's not enough troops to enforce martial law all over the country at the same time. It's impossible. So being scared of martial law is not an option. What we should be worried about is the socialist agitators and the MS-13 gangs, drug gangs, and the illegal alien soldiers of the caliphate that came over here across the border and snuck into our country. I know for a fact there's 30,000 Somalians that live in Minnesota. A whole bunch of them live in a place called St. Cloud, Minnesota. Now, are these Muslim soldiers that have been brought here on purpose? So when the socialist agitators do start a civil war, that we'll be surrounded and outnumbered in our own neighborhoods, in our own communities? Is that a fact? Or is that just conjecture from a bunch of paranoid people calling themselves the 3%ers? Is it a fact that the Constitution of the United States does not apply anymore? It's been replaced by statutory law, admiralty law, maritime law. Is that a fact? How can we prove that? We'll look up the 93rd Congress report of the state of the national emergency. You'll get an idea of how these people operate. Also look up a man by the name of Archibald Roberts. He did something called the Committee to Restore the Constitution, and he explains quite well the regional system. It's called the Silent Revolution, where they streamlined the government back in the 70s and replaced the constitutional law with statutory law. It's lawyer law. Has nothing to do with the Constitution of the United States. Now, I myself, through my checkered past, have went to court over 300 times, not only for myself, but for other people. I stood in with them at their court hearings. I'm not a lawyer, don't pretend to be a lawyer, but I do know the law, because I've had to. I've had to study it, from inside federal prison, inside different jailhouses all over the country, because I got thrown in jail for not shutting up. Well, I'm not going to shut up. I will never shut up, because the torch of freedom burns inside my heart, just like it does a whole lot of other patriotic Americans. Now, the socialist agitators out there, the SA versus the SS, sovereign state, there's a parallel between today and Nazi Germany. The SA in Nazi Germany were used by Adolf Hitler to agitate by mob action. We see a lot of mob action now, don't we, with all these protests about police shootings and everything. That's called mob action. Black Lives Matter, etc., etc. It's mob action. And then they use their national fake news media to force their will upon us. And then they use the border seizing of children as an emotional plea to the ignorant. That's exactly what's going on now. If you look around, the mood of the whole country is being dictated by a small group of agitators, the SA. Well, let me remind you, what happened to the SA in Nazi Germany? It was called the Night of the Long Knives, where the ruling class, the SS, the Schutzstaffel, rounded them up, and killed them. Is that going to happen to the socialist agitators now? You have to ask yourself that question. Are we being ruled by a bunch of fools? Mob rules? Yes or no? And all you 3%ers out there, militia groups, patriot groups, concerned citizen groups, if the shooting starts, what are you going to do? You better have your communities organized into companies of militia units and use Google Earth to look at your location, plan out your escape routes and your fortified defenses in case we get attacked by Islamic terrorists. The ISIS guys who are already here in the United States, they're just waiting for a signal to attack. And if there's 12 million illegal aliens in the United States, and only a small percent of them decide to join the fight with weapons, we got a problem. That means there's over 2 million active combat members here in the United States, right? Think about it. Do the math. If these people hate America so much and they're just waiting for the signal to attack, well, y'all better get ready. If you're living in a city, that's a death trap. You have nowhere to go, you'll be surrounded. So I advise, if you can, get out to some rural area. Because out here in the rural areas, I don't see any transsexuals. I don't see any homosexuals. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that the national news media are trying to tell us that they're everywhere, even forcing us to use certain kind of bathrooms. Now that's ridiculous. Fake news media will have you believe almost anything, including the bogus bullshit that 2 jetliners were hijacked and flown into the World Trade Centers. I've been a TV producer for over 28 years. I know how editing works. I know how green screen works. And all the evidence I've seen, there were no planes that hit them buildings. Yeah, there was explosions that took them down, but that was a controlled demolition. There were no planes. It's a Hollywood trick. And all the witnesses, supposedly, that saw the planes, well, gee whiz, they work for the news departments. Almost everyone who was interviewed worked for some sort of news organization. And no plane hit the damn Pentagon either, man. No plane. How can you get a 60-ton airliner into a 14-foot hole? Ain't gonna happen, boys. Fake news. Exactly. Now, when I started my program 28 years ago, 1990, I brought up voter fraud, fake news, and a whole bunch of other things. And now it's come full circle. We have President Trump repeating what I said over 20 years ago. Why is that? Maybe because I'm right. Maybe because I've been watching this stuff and studying it for 28 years. Now you think about that. No planes hit them buildings. No plane hit the Pentagon. It's a lie. Fake news. So you 3%ers out there, you get your poop in a group, man. Get all your people together. I want to see brigades in every state. That's right. Battalion level. We already have quite a few active units out in the field. And as for me, give me liberty or give me death.